will say happy E-Days, everyone. And we're getting excited to celebrate another E-Days and E-Days in person this year on campus. And very excited about that, as I think this is the first E-Days for our junior class. And others on campus might have only experienced one E-Days. So kind of a big event to get back in the swing of things, one of our big traditions at school. But I want to welcome everybody to our April lunch bunch, and it's great to see you all. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Andy Flynn, class of 86 and 98, and the Director of Alumni Engagement here at Mines. If this is your first lunch bunch, welcome. And for those of you who are regular attendees, thank you for your continued interest and support, and welcome back. We're glad to have you with us today as we continue our monthly look at the people and programs that make Mines great. Today, we shine the spotlight on the Office of Entrepreneurship and Innovation, led by Director Dr. Werner Kuhr. During today's program, you'll learn about E&I's strategic programs, ventures, partnerships, and campus resources that are combining to help make students' dreams reality. Dr. Kuhr will also share the basic skills of entrepreneurial thinking that help students understand and communicate the value of their technical work, the unique ventures that bring together faculty, students, staff, and alumni as partners in developing new ideas, and the campus facilities, which include McNeil Hall, Labriola InnoHub, and the Beck Venture Center, that will support all of this wonderful creativity and innovation unlike any other school in the country. The Labriola InnoHub is under construction, and we're excited to be breaking ground on the Beck Venture Center on campus later this afternoon. So this program is well-timed. Before Dr. Kuhr begins, a few quick reminders as we do each month. Any questions that you submitted with your RSVP have been shared with our speaker. And if you think of a question during the program, please feel free to use the chat feature. We'll keep an eye on it. And if we run out of time and don't get to your question, we'll circle back with you after the program. All of our Lunch Bunch programs are recorded and can be accessed on the Lunch Bunch page of the alumni website at weare.mines.edu. So if you miss one, want to listen again, or would like to share the program with a friend, go to the bottom of this page to see the complete archive of recordings. Lastly, if you have ideas for future speakers or topics we want to know about them, please contact me, Ruth, or anyone in the alumni office with your suggestions. With that, welcome Dr. Kuhr.
Thanks, Andy. It's always a pleasure working with you and the alumni. And I'll take that all the way back to when I first started about 4.5 years ago with Stu Bennett and all the guys there. It's been a fantastic ride, and it's been really fun to get to know everyone and to work with you in terms of helping these students learn some entrepreneurship. So what I thought I'd do before I really get started is just share with you an E&I, I always forget that, the E&I
showcase?
Well, the E&I showcase, but it's part of the E&I subgroup of the Alumni Association that helped organize it, and they were phenomenal.
The interest group.
Interest group, thank you. I forgot the word. All right, so let me show this. Is about a 3-minute video.
Be a part of this program that is so involved both pre and post graduation. teach you how to be entrepreneurs. They give you the rocket and they teach you how to support the startup. In the past year, we've done so much. The ENI program took 4 kids who had no idea what we wanted to do. We actually spent probably like 3 months trying to figure out what we wanted to do. And between that time and the past year, we've grown into a company that's already been funded by their first client. And we've had multiple people reach out to us about different business opportunities. Not only has the ENI helped support our dreams, but they still are, even after we graduated.
You want to be able to do something that not only has value in terms of monetary compensation, but has value to you as a person. You want to do things that make a difference to you and to other people. That's what we want to do.
We heard how important it was for us to be intentional and deliberate about delivering programming and support and education curriculum around entrepreneurship and innovation. Everybody wants our students. I'm just telling you this. So it's highly, highly competitive. We have exceptional students, as you know. And so we need to do the things that we need to do that distinguish ourselves from other institutions, that set us apart, that make us top of mind and first choice. And so that's where E&I comes into play. And I know one thing about mine's students and alumni, you sort of have this inherent entrepreneurial spirit and ability to solve problems and innovate. And so what we want to do is capitalize on that and develop programming that fosters that and promotes that.
I just thought that was a great way to start in terms of thinking about how we've worked together in the past and how we can work together in the future. The alumni are such an important contribution and component of what we do with our students in terms of being able to teach that the basic concept. So with that, let's see if I can get back to the other screen. And really what we wanted to do is just give you a quick update in terms of the things that are going on and the programs that are in place and some of the buildings. And I'll start with kind of what our vision was. And this hasn't changed for probably almost 5 years now. We really want to center on the students, right? The idea is provide them with the experiences and the opportunities to really enable them to understand entrepreneurial mindset and do it across the campus, not just in business, not just in ME, but with everyone, and bring as many people together as we can, because that's really where innovation happens. So our basic purposes, basic mission can really be divided into 2 components. One is to educate all students in modern entrepreneurial thinking. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, but that really is going to be the heart of the academic enterprise. It's really hard to put together new courses because students just don't have the time. So part of that is also then working with existing faculty, teaching them the entrepreneurial process, and then moving forward, letting them teach that as well. Also with existing departments. So for example, we partner with the EDS department, Engineering, Design, and Society. And since they teach the cornerstone freshman level class in design thinking that now contains entrepreneurial components, and also the capstone classes that really help students prototype and learn how to develop an idea and develop first the problem and then the solution. So that's absolutely the most critical component. And we were very fortunate to have Charlie McNeil endow that program so that our academic processes are continuing to be grown and embedded into the academic curriculum. So the second component is really to take that next level. So suppose we can get students, faculty, and alumni interested in a commercialization opportunity. Do they have a great idea that they think might actually have some commercialization potential? We want to enable people that have that idea to go forward and actually build a company and learn how to all the processes involved in terms of creating a new venture. And that's really the second phase. And that's, we've been very fortunate as well in terms of having that endowed or essentially the building created for us by Mike Beck and his wife, who created the Beck Venture Center. So what we're really trying to do is integrate all of this into sort of one smooth process that really starts at the education level, basic education, goes through R&D and problem definition, solution prototyping, market validation. That's really the core of what I'd consider the entrepreneurial thinking process. For those students that want to move forward, or faculty or alumni, we want to provide additional resources that let them get through the product development, business model development, so that it will enable commercialization of an idea, building a company, scaling it and growing it. So you can see there are different things that are required for these two different processes. And we've been very fortunate in putting together sort of an overall environment that I think is going to be second to none in the country. So if we look then at the McNeil Center, the academic programs, we already have in place McNeil Hall. It's a wonderful innovation classroom building that Charlie again contributed towards. We're building the Labriola InnoHub, a 30,000 square foot makerspace that can enable students to really do as much prototyping as they need to. And we've added programs, for example, that faculty are supported by a program that was funded by Thomas Nikoloff, the Nikoloff Faculty Fellows, which allows faculty to learn the key components so that they can introduce those into their classes as we move forward and broaden and help students understand how entrepreneurship fits into the regular academic program. So that's the first step, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. All that is really reliant on alumni mentors and working with companies that you guys have put together that have maybe a problem that you want us to solve or have an idea that you'd like to pursue. It's been a great synergy between companies and mentors and students, and I think we've had some remarkable progress there. So that's the first stage. The second stage is really now thinking about what does it take? Say you've got a great idea, you've got a solution, you've understood the problem, you've validated that there's a significant market. How do you move forward? Well, people always think of funding first, right? I need $1 million. And that's typically the last thing they need. But what we can do is guide them along in that process in terms of thinking about product development, business model development, and get to the stage where they could actually utilize an investment as it comes along. All of that will be done in the business incubator part of the Beck Venture Center. And then as we push them out and they move on to become viable companies, that will be part of a business accelerator. So really trying to put together the full program that allows someone to learn the basics and then move forward with it. Just to give you an idea, here's just, and I won't go through all of this in detail, but just to give you an idea, this is a list of first, the courses are at the top that we've taught this year, and the number of students registered. So we're getting probably close to about 100, 120 students in these classes. The other aspect that I'll talk about a little bit more is extracurricular activities. And Sid Saleh, Dr. Sid Saleh, who's the primary faculty member that teaches all of this, came up with the idea of Innovate X as an acronym to indicate that what we can do is teach these students to innovate on specific problems and bring in the alumni mentors and sponsors to help define that problem and define the solution. So it's a great opportunity for people to take some interest. We typically, this year actually, we ran 6 one-day challenges, which was interesting. And we had about 240 people, students register, 150 participate, and add that to about 40 or 50 alumni that participated. It was just an incredible set of experiences throughout the year. So in addition to that, we've had a number of sort of one-of events where we talk to different students on how sort of entrepreneurial thought can influence their career development, impact diversity, impact student government, graduate studies in terms of how they can use this on their own research to move forward. And then finally, in the spring, we launched the first joint effort with the Career Center here, so that we featured individual startup companies, because they tend to get drowned out by the bigger companies in Career Center events. So again, great attendance at all of these, great opportunities for these students to move forward and really start to explore their entrepreneurial journey. So coming back then to the buildings, again, that really highlights the activity that we're putting forward. And it really starts to make students think about this as a viable option and think of it as important as it should be. So as I mentioned, the McNeil Innovation Classroom building, which sits right next to the Geology Museum, is a great space with at least half a dozen innovation classrooms where students can team up during class. The instructor acts more as a mentor and guide rather than a lecturer, and we're just getting tremendous feedback on how much students enjoy these classes. The next one up is the Labriola Innovation Complex. Again, that's a 30,000 square foot makerspace. That's going to give us the opportunity really to move students forward in terms of understanding how their prototype impacts the development of their idea. And finally, the Beck Venture Center, which is breaking ground today, will allow us to take them that next step, to bring them to the point where they can actually have significant impact in terms of developing a commercializable idea. And when I say they, in all of these cases, I'm referring not only to students, but to students, faculty, and alumni that can really utilize these spaces as affiliates. So if we look a little bit more detail, the Inno Complex is the innovation building is actually only a part of the innovation complex. This again, it's situated behind the Geology Museum in what used to be a parking lot, and will essentially be joined to there was a 13 garage building there that all those garage bays will be used for team space as well. And the opportunity then is for students either in class or in teams or by themselves to come in there and prototype and build what they want to build. In addition, there'll be software working spaces and the like, so that they can integrate all the different components of engineering, from EE to ME to civil, so that we can get as much interaction as possible between the students and let them work side by side, rub shoulders, and learn from each other. That's really the goal. The next thing is that will be open hopefully by spring of next year. So very aggressive timeline in terms of building it. And then, as I mentioned, the final thing is the Beck Venture Center. Again, roughly about a 30,000 square foot building. that has a lot of the support structures in place that allow people to move forward. Again, also for use by alumni. So if we think, I'll concentrate a little bit more on the Venture Center today, since that's the groundbreaking. But the idea is to make a very inclusive space where people have the opportunity to come in, get a cup of coffee, sit down with prospective partners and the like, with alumni, to work together towards the idea of building value. A lot of this is essentially just looks like an office building. You know, there are open office co-working spaces, there are private offices, there are a lot of conference rooms and work areas where people can work individually or together. But really, the other aspect is the people that are in it. And that's really the key, is being able to have everyone there. So have our alumni mentors there, have our student teams, our faculty, as they move an idea forward, so that they can just go across the room and talk to a person they need to talk to. Additionally, we're inviting community in terms of having, for example, patent attorneys or finance experts, tax experts, all office there. So again, it makes it easier for them to find the resources that they really need at the moment that they need it. And then finally, that it's going to, the whole ground floor is open to the public as effectively a big public event space. So we'll have startup pitches there, demo days, allow the students to engage with the community on a larger scale, and then also sponsor meetups and networking events. So really providing the resources that can help move things forward.
Werner, I see a question in the chat, if you don't mind taking a quick break to answer.
Sure, let me see. There we go.
Could you clarify the location of the Beck Venture Center and how many stories high is it going to be?
Yeah, so it's going to be located on Washington Street, but between 17th and 18th. It's essentially where the big hole is right now. The hope is it will be a 3-story building. So the ground floor will have the cafe, the event center, a classroom, and supporting structure or supporting components that will allow the general community to interact. And then the upper 2 floors are really for the hard work, right? They're for the teams to work together in co-working or have their own office. And our hope then is also to bring, and I'll talk about this in a little bit, is partners. And partners are so key to a small institution like ours, where we want to be able to work with people. We can't duplicate all the efforts that CU Boulder does or that NREL does. So we want to be able to bring them in as partners so that they can work with us and facilitate the generation of an idea.
So in the meantime, until this building is up and running, can people stop by your office to share an idea and get connected, and where would they go?
I guess I should have mentioned that. Thank you, Ruth. Yeah, so
just a question in the chat from Will. So
okay. Yeah, we are located down at 1600 Jackson Street. So we're on the ground floor of 1600 Jackson, and it's a small space. It's about 3,000 square feet, but it's actually plenty of space for people to, for example, if you need a commercial office and you want to work from mines, we have about a half a dozen office spaces that essentially we let out on a daily basis. We have a co-working space that'll fit about, I'd say about 20 people or so, but that also serves as our current event center and as our workshop home and the like. So it has a multifunctional usage, and it works quite well for that. Great. So yeah, happy to meet with you, and all of the E&I offices are down here. So Sid and I and Bud Rockhill, who's our interim director for the Venture Center, all live down here, so we can meet with you anytime. The best way to do it is still send an email first and make sure we're here or we're not with someone else. But it's working quite well in terms of sort of on an interim basis. And that's where we run a bunch of our programs as well. So, and any other questions on that? Otherwise, well, you know, again, there's a lot of information here, but we really thought about what teams need at different stages in their development, right? So that first stage, when they're still at developing a concept, building prototypes, that's really going to be part of the McNeil Center and at the InnoHub, where they're really iterating the designs, talking to their stakeholders, learning about what people want, and then developing what we call a value proposition that creates an opportunity for them to move forward. So as they move from a prototype to a startup, really what that means is they start thinking about the business side. And that's really what we want to be able to provide to them here, since that is something that most students don't get typically as part of their mind's experience. But what we're trying to do is shy away from formal programs like an MBA, for example, where they spend almost what I'd say is too much time developing those concepts, and teach them as they go. You know, Minds is very much a place where it's hands-on. You learn things by doing them, and the same will be true for business here. So as they move forward, we'll put them in contact with the right person, for example, to develop a financial model, to create an entity, an LLC or C Corp, and then help them fill roles that are vacant. A lot of Minds is around the technical problems that are developed, and as it should be. So what we rely on are people like our alumni to come back and then either act as a mentor for a day or mentor a team for a semester, or even join the team and become what we've called a fractional executive, where they can then guide the team on those aspects that they're not familiar with and lead them through that process. So as we go through market launch, you know, at this point, when we think about teams that have gotten to the point where they actually have value, they've recognized it, they've spelled it out, they understand the business parameters, that's the time when they really start to need some money to move forward. And what we're doing right now is putting together those resources so that we can support them. And this is way too busy a slide, but I just wanted to show you there's a lot that goes into this in terms of thinking about what resources are needed at what stage of a company's development, and how can we provide the support for all of these different aspects. And that's really the programming that we're developing right now. So all of this is putting together this entrepreneurship and innovation environment, right, and ecosystem. Everything from the initial learning experiences, the classes, iteration of the solutions, developing that concept, that startup concept, providing collaborative opportunities to work with not only our own people, but with people outside, with the community, and with a number of organizations that can also benefit from this. And I'll talk about partners in a second. And then having competitions, pitch competitions that will highlight the work that they've done, give them an opportunity to present to that community, and then actually do that startup launch and development so that we can create that overall sort of circular economy of creating successful companies that can then come back and give to the new students. Again, too much information here, and again, I'm happy to share this, but we're providing sort of what we're calling a membership opportunity for students, faculty, and alumni, where they can get the basics in terms of co-working office space, educational resources, workshops and programs. They can take part in or watch innovation competitions, and working with those students create something that's actually just really fun. As we get more move forward, we'll get into areas where, for example, we have venture members that are actually funded and want a specific reserved space to work in, and then have access to other programs that can advance them even further. And the key part of all of this as well is having those professional partners here. So having a partner that has a reserved office space, an attorney, a financial person, a tax person, someone that can really provide the needed services and actually grow their own business that way as well. So as we move forward, again, this is, sorry, it's a little busy, but we have a lot of different types of funding available for them. For anything from, again, from the concept stage, where it's really gifts and grants, friends, call it friends and family, to prototyping or prototyping, where we can start to supply some funds for example, if they need $500 to develop a prototype just in hard materials, that's easy to do. And then as they get into the pre-startup and startup phase, where they start to really need some real money, $50,000, $100,000, a couple $100,000, we are at the point where we now have a significant source of funds at the pre-startup level. So that's probably up to from $5,000 to $10,000. And actually, for example, the proof of concept fund in conjunction with the Office of Research can give a faculty member, I think, what, $35,000. We now have a proof of concept 2 fund, which can provide another $50,000 for the actual commercialization of an idea. So this can really get these teams to the point where they are viable and can be considered for equity funding. So the next phase, of course, is a venture fund. And we are working with the foundation right now to develop a Minds venture fund that is Minds centric. So it will fund those companies that are based on Minds affiliates. And what we can then do, so that, and that level of funding can be substantial. It's on the order of about $100,000 per company, and with follow-on funding available. But we're not going to do it alone. We're doing this with partners as well. So we've developed a nice network of other venture funds that want to partner with us and co-invest with these startup companies. And we have a number of government programs. For example, the Colorado Office of Economic Development has given us a significant grant to provide this type of external funding as well. So as we move forward and things start growing, what we are doing is developing additional funding resources as well, both internally and externally. So there's a little bit more detail. So the initial fund that we're raising is $5 million. The foundation will be a significant limited partner. And we've had a number of alumni and friends of mine come in and say they want to be part of this. So it's really, really going to lead to a great, I think, environment for these students. One last, oops, shoot, I didn't have that extra slide. One last thing I'll go into before we open it up for more questions is potential partners. And we've been, again, we're very fortunate to be situated here in Golden, and especially situated right next to NREL. We really worked with NREL to develop a program now called the Westgate Innovator Program, where it's modeled on other successful programs at other national labs, where they invite innovators, external innovators. So people that come up with an idea and are putting together the necessary parts for commercialization. The Westgate program will give an individual innovator about 500,000 in support. So it's a really significant program. It's rolling out this year. We have the selection process going on for the first 5 innovators that will be housed in the Venture Center here, the interim Venture Center right now, and then the Beck Venture Center when it's fully built in about 1.25 years. So it's a 2-year program. Their innovators will be introduced to Minds faculty, Minds students. Will have innovation challenges around their ideas, and we'll let them move forward, engage with our students to get team members and faculty to get research ideas, license those ideas, and move forward and hopefully have big impact in the community as we go forward. We're talking to a number of fairly large corporations that love this kind of a format, and they want to sponsor one on their own. So with any luck, we'll have a number of partners that will be sponsoring this type of interaction between bringing in external innovators and then matching them with the appropriate people and resources here on campus. And just, the only thing I have shown here, again, we're building a lot of additional programs as well in terms of thinking about how to integrate more of these concepts into the existing framework of courses. So anything from additional proof of concept grant funding, translational innovation faculty chairs, where we're hoping to be able to sponsor either new hires or existing faculty as a half-time appointment in entrepreneurship to help enable them move a commercial business along and stay at Minds without having to leave. And then academic entrepreneurial faculty chairs. We want to bring in mechanical engineering faculty, civil engineering, EE, all of the faculty across the board, and help them to train the students in these types of programs. So all in all, I think it's going to be a really fun environment for students to move along and to be able to support their needs and support what they would like to do. And I saw one other question about Trefny, and we have actually a number of resources. Will Streeter asked, is the Trefny Center available to help alumni with graphics presentations? Trefny is a difficult one because they're pretty much overworked by faculty with their needs in terms of getting academic courses going, but we'll provide additional resources both in writing and in graphics as well. Just come through us and we'll make the match to the resources that you need to be able to get to. All right, so I'll stop there. I'm happy to answer any other questions and see what you guys are interested in.
Hi, I'll start with a question. I'm ML Richardson.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
And I worked in mining and construction my career and still do. So you talked a little bit about research possibilities, funding available, corporate research. So how would the research project work with the School of Mines? I have an idea that I've had for a long time, but I'd like to see if there's some innovative idea about this particular idea.
Okay, and it really, there's so many levels of research collaboration that I'll go over the ones I can think of, and then if you have a specific question, I can I'll try to answer that one as well. But so if you're trying to do something, well, let me back up one second. The critical part of a research collaboration is IP ownership, right? And what we tend to do is, what I recommend people do is essentially follow the money. So if a corporate grant comes in and pays for a specific research project, they can negotiate to get the initial rights or the ability to use that research in their own work. If it's a student-derived project and the student's working in a classroom or on a project of their own, they own the IP, right? So in that sense, they have the opportunity to move that forward. If it's a research program here at Mines that's well established, that we've invested a lot of money in, obviously Mines owns the research IP, but we're happy to work with the potential licensees or startups to move forward. So there are lots of different levels of engagement. So again, if it's a simpler program, we recommend that people go to the capstone program. So you can get a team of engineers, for 4 to 6 engineers for a full year to work on an idea, and you can move that forward. If you have a more complicated research idea, again, it's probably best to find the appropriate faculty member to engage. And we're happy to make suggestions there if people have specific requirements.
Okay, it's something a little bit different than what you're talking about, but I'm not free to
Okay.
to talk about it at this point. But I may I saw a panel on which Sid sat, and I have been meaning to call him up. He invited me over there probably sometime last summer, and I just haven't had time to do that. But I do want to come over and see, and it would probably help me understand better if I saw, exactly what
the
things look like over there, and then discuss, be able to have a confidential discussion with someone as to whether or not this is something. I think it would be of great interest to you guys, but only you can decide that.
Right. No, feel free, and I'd be happy to talk to you offline about that as well.
Okay.
And Sid does engage a lot of students, for example, and a lot of alumni and companies through his classes. The nice thing about a class, again, is if a student comes up with an idea during a class, they own it. You don't have to worry about negotiating IP rights with the university. You may have to worry about the actual student. but typically that can be prearranged. But a lot of innovation challenges resulted in some really cool ideas. And what we found is that a lot of students can come up with a different perspective than most, than the problem that was originally brought in. So it gives you a good opportunity to sort of broaden the thought process and the brainstorming process.
Right, that's what I'm thinking, and I'm thinking that the students, most of them will not have had much, if any, actual experience, so therefore they won't be limited by how things are done currently.
Exactly. Having that broader perspective. It's funny too, when we do innovation challenges, and we allow anyone to participate. It can be a freshman, can be a grad student. But it's so funny when you see a freshman student team beat out a bunch of grad students.
Yes.
just because they have that lack of a preset idea of what you have to do. So yeah, right. It's a great process, and we're happy to bring you in either in the academic level, course level, or in the research area as well.
Okay, thank you. This is very, very good and helpful to understand how all of these new buildings relate. I both live and work in Golden, and so, I've heard about these, but I wasn't exactly sure about the interconnection, where one begins and then passes off to the other.
Yep.
So thank you very much. Very helpful.
Oh, you bet. My pleasure.
Is your contact information, can you put that on the chat or something?
I can, and I'll put it on chat. Yep.
Thank you.
Sure. There you go.
Werner, that flashed by awful quick. Could you put it up again?
Oh, did you? It should be in the chat. You just have to open it up. Otherwise, it's just wkuhr@mines.edu.
So this is just a little bit of off topic, but it relates to mines. So I just want to ask, are you guys sure you should be doing the fireworks? I love fireworks. It's one of my favorite things. And I live close enough to where I don't even have to leave my house to see them. So I'm excited about it, but just a little concerned given the dryness and all that. So
Well, I'll leave that one for Andy.
Yeah, it's a little bit of my pay grade, actually.
Yeah, exactly. But hey, I just moved into Golden, so I'm excited to see them.
oh yeah, they're pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So we'll hope to not hear any fire engine.
Yeah.
Are they going to go off in the same place that they usually do the fields?
Yeah.
Up by the frat
I
houses?
think they'll be up in the Q lot.
In the Q lot, which is the Q lot?
It's above the football field and just to the north of the intramural fields.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's that same general area, right? Where they usually do it.
Yeah, but that's probably the least vegetated.
I'm sorry, the least what?
Oh,
The least vegetated.
Oh, yes.
and
Yes.
least likely to burn, hopefully.
Yes. So are they still going to do the canoes, the concrete canoes, or boats in the creek? Is that still part of E-Days?
Yes, it'll be like the cardboard boats.
Yep.
Oh, cardboard. Okay, not
Yeah,
concrete.
that'll be Saturday morning.
Okay. At what time?
I am not sure.
Okay.
I'm guessing between 10 or 11.
Yeah, it'll
Right.
still be cold. I should have done that one tomorrow when it's 80 or 75.
Right.
Well, what's the fun in that? Yeah, tough them up. Tough them up.
Mm-hmm.
I love the geology museum or Earth and Science Museum, whatever they changed the name to.
Yeah.
I bring all kinds of people there because I love rocks, and it's a great place to see a lot of beautiful specimens.
Oh, you actually just reminded me of something. So we're actually hosting the sort of the demo day finals for all of the innovation teams and some of our startup teams in the room right across from the museum. And that'll be on May 5th from 6 to 8 p.m.
I saw that. I've never been to that, but I think I put it on my calendar for this year.
Yeah, it's fun. The teams take it very seriously and really put together great 5-minute presentations.
And I just put that registration in the chat. So
Oh, perfect.
if you haven't seen it, you can go to that webpage, read a little bit more, and register if you'd like.
Perfect. Thank you, Jenny.
Yeah. I'm also trying to find the E-Day activity list. I think I found it. And I'm going to put that in the chat too if you want to see. I think if you scroll down towards the bottom, it has a list of all the activities and the times.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is Mines ever going to consider a program like for young, let's say middle school students in the summer, like a week program, just to give them a little bit more knowledge about the possibilities of careers and sort of like a camp? Have you ever considered doing that? I have a nephew I would like to send there.
A number of departments do that in their specific fields. And
At mines?
At mines, yep. And I
Oh,
don't know if we
okay.
have I don't know if we have a central list of them, but definitely a lot of students come in over the summer. We used to have an NSF program based one as well, but I don't know if that's still in existence.
That's a great, though, suggestion. I think we have a K through 12 program here on campus where students can learn or get that certificate to teach K through 12. And Werner, maybe we should reach out to the director there and see if
Sure.
any of them would want to teach at E&I camp.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah, that would be great. And another thing, my nephew's already very science and math oriented. I started bringing him when he was 5 to Regis University. Regis University does in the spring, every March, they do a family science day. And they open up the school, and there's, well, it's one building, but in each room of the building, there's probably all total 30 different things kids can do, and they're all excited. Lockheed Martin brought some of the, what do you call it? You know, when you put that on you, you put a deal over your eyes and your
Oculus
yeah. It's not artificial
Virtual
intelligence.
reality?
Virtual reality. Thank you. Geez.
Yep.
They brought one of those headsets, and that kids were just, excited. They have the physics teachers showing, little things kids can do that teach them about physics. And it's such a fun day. They haven't done it, of course, during the pandemic, but I think you guys should do something like that.
Well, the one thing we sponsor the Future Cities competition in Colorado. I don't know if you've heard about that. That's run through the actual schools, but we host them for the state finals here. Of course, last 2 years has been virtual, but hopefully starting next year they'll be here again.
And then, are you still doing the robotics competition? I've judged that a couple years.
Yeah,
that's fun.
Yep. Again, a lot of it becomes dependent on the student teams themselves. So I'm hopeful that all this will be rejuvenated now that we can have it in person again.
Yeah, it's amazing what those students do with the robotics, and it's exhausting to be a judge all day there.
Yep.
But great, I think great for the kids, great for the community. It helps kids be exposed to some things that they might not otherwise be exposed,
Yep.
That science day in particular.
Yep.
So I think you guys should do it.
And I know computer science does a fair amount of that. So, but again, I don't know the details.
I don't want to cut things off too quickly, but I think I have to respect Dr. Kuhr and his time today, as we have got a lot going on with the groundbreaking for the Venture Center in just a little over an hour or so, and then a welcome reception down at their offices at 1600 Jackson. So certainly I invite you all to, if you're nearby, to come by and participate. We'd all love to see you there. I'm sorry to cut you short a little bit, ML. I appreciate your joining our conversation today, and I appreciate everyone showing up. We've got another lunch bunch scheduled for next month. That would be May 19th, where we're going to talk about some of our capstone projects and have some of our students on to discuss those projects. But I truly appreciate your participation. Again, we archive these, put them on the weare.minds.edu website, so you can always come back to these. We thank you for your participation, and happy E-Days, and go Ore Diggers.